So I'm a Strat guy, and I have been for a while, and because of that, I've seen quite a few of them. Some of them have humbuckers, some of them have weird functions, and some of them barely even look like Strats. But I feel like it's been a while since I've seen one this unique that fascinated me quite this much. A lot of that comes from the fact that I have this really strange connection with that guitar that actually comes from the first American Strat that I ever bought. You see, back around the year 2015, when I had only been playing guitar for, say, a year and a half, I started really getting into gear for the first time. And more specifically, I was really obsessed with the idea of getting an American Strat. I've been playing like a pretty nice Mexican Strat that I had picked up for like $200 or $300, but I wanted to see like the upper echelon of Fender's quality spectrum and see like what exactly made it so different. So I started to go on Reverb, Guitar Center, Craigslist, basically every website that I absolutely knew sold used gear, bartering, looking for sales, just trying to find that one, you know? And all of a sudden, one day while I'm scrolling through, I see it. And it's this dark blue Strat with a rosewood fretboard. I mean, it was so beautiful, kind of like Aunt Becky, and in a lot of ways, love at first sight. But even with that, there was something just slightly off about it. You see, instead of saying American Strat on the listing like all of the other ones, I noticed that this one had these two words that I hadn't actually seen before: Highway 1. Now, I had never heard of these Highway 1 guitars before, so I start plugging it into Google, and I actually find out that Highway 1 is a series of American guitars that they had actually discontinued years before I had started playing. But everything I was reading online was alluding to the fact that these guitars were like really legit, and this listing in particular was right in my price range at $450. A completely different time, I know, but I decided to go for it. So I put it in my cart, press purchase, and finalize the entire thing, and await the 3 to 5 business days for it to actually get to me, which felt like an absolute eternity. But once it did, I take it out of the box, I open it, I plug it in, ready to play those 4 SRV licks, really badly executed, but the only ones that I knew at the time. And as I'm ready to strum these first few chords, I noticed that something is just a little bit off. There's definitely something wrong with this guitar. So I take it to the local store. They tell me it's a truss rod issue. They fix it for like $50 and they send me on my way. And so I go back home and I start playing this guitar, but not like once or twice. I'm talking every single day. I mean, every single SRV, Clapton, Hendrix riff that I hold truly dear, I learned on this exact instrument. And that sort of thing happened for like years. But as time began to change and I moved to a much bigger city, I started to make some sort of, let's call them questionable decisions. You see, I'd gotten really into producing, and it was like my dream to do this full time at a really high level. And since the Highway 1 was like one of the more entry-level lines of American Strats, I thought that I needed something better, whatever that meant. So I listed the guitar on Reverb in order to fund this G&L that I had found at the local guitar store. Now, I absolutely love my G&L. It's one of my favorite guitars I've ever owned, and it's also one of the coolest stories I have about any guitar. But I quickly began to realize just how uninformed and unnecessary that whole thing was. Now, around the time of me selling my Strat to finance this G&L, I start noticing on Instagram this one guitarist, and he's like really popping off. And he's not like all of these guitarists that I'm usually into. This guy seems different. Usually I'm all about the SRVs and these like neo-soul Instagram guys, but this guy, he's always vamping these like funk chops. Now, I'd only played funk on like a small handful of occasions, maybe learned 1 or 2 songs. I thought it was like fine, but there was something just so different about the way this guy did it. I mean, it was just this like completely different type of groove, and I felt like I had never heard anything like it, and I quickly became like obsessed with it. I mean, I'm watching all of these tutorials. Basically everything that I'm posting on social media is just a bad funk knockoff version of what he's doing. I'm trying to figure out about his tone, his amps, his gear, and funny thing, as I'm doing this, I keep consistently noticing that his main guitar is actually this blue Strat. And it always sort of brought me back to thinking about my blue Strat. And one day, while I was looking up this interview of him, he mentions that Strat in particular, and he says that it's a Highway 1 that he had bought back in the day used at a guitar store. And believe me when I say there are a few times in my life where I have felt this stupid. I mean, my hero with the exact same guitar that I had, with essentially the exact same story, and I let it go. Now, it definitely sucked, but as time passed, I eventually got over it. And with this time, I also noticed that this guy, he starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And he starts doing what a lot of guitar players do and coming out with all these products. I mean, there's a signature amp plug-in, there's a signature pedal, and eventually, there's also a signature guitar. And as I'm seeing this thing for the first time, all I'm thinking to myself is, okay, that looks almost exactly like the Highway 1. It looked almost exactly, well, exactly like this thing right here. So this is the Cory Wong signature Strat. And although on the surface it looks like a normal Strat, it's actually very different than most anything I've played before. It's weird, and the more I started playing it, the more I started realizing just how weird. And it really all starts with this sort of weird body. And what I mean by that is when I went to the Fender showroom a couple of months ago with some friends, they actually had the Cory Wong signature hanging on the wall. And so I decided to ask them about it just out of intrigue. And I was like, that guitar looks a little bit smaller than everything else out there. Is it short scale? They responded and told me the fretboard, the neck, everything here is normal. The body is smaller. And in doing some research, Cory apparently did that because he wanted this guitar to be a little bit more lightweight. But that's not even where the weirdness really stopped. Because on this body, I realized that this guitar had this sort of switch. And once I realized it could do, I further was like, okay, this is unlike anything I've ever seen on a Strat before. So I think it's time we actually plug this bad boy in and I show you what I mean. First thought when it came to this guitar was that this must be some sort of coil split, or better yet, since they're single coils, it must put the pickups in series. But that's when I realized that this is actually what's called a panic button. And what that does is, Cory being the funk master that he is, he's always doing these completely wide strums, and sometimes he ends up accidentally hitting the pickup selector. So the panic button locks everything into fourth position. So I could be here, that's in fourth position, and this is in fourth position. Still in the 4. Button isn't even really where I stopped. That's when I started to get into the world of these pickups, which, much like the rest of the guitar, these pickups are kind of different. Not necessarily unexpected, but different. So let me show you what I mean. So this is just my regular Strat, and what I want to do is I want to play them back to back because I want to see if you can actually hear the difference. made sure that this wasn't just any bridge pickup. Although it may just look like a regular single coil, it's actually stacked, so it's not quite as bright as a regular bridge pickup on a Strat. It's meant to more match the middle and the neck, like we were saying before, without getting too bright. So I think what really fascinates me about signature guitars as a whole is that it feels like you're getting a much more intricate look into some of the individual quirks behind a player's sound. Like, you already go in knowing what a Strat sounds like, what it's supposed to look like, but you don't know individually what does Cory Wong like in his Strat. I think that it's just a really interesting conversation that a lot of players who are really big fans of a particular artist, whether that be Cory Wong or John Mayer with the Silver Sky, or Brent Mason with the Telly, or even Slash with his Les Paul, anything of like seriously asking yourself some of the big questions like, do I want the particular quirks of this artist, of a Cory Wong, or do I want something more standard like an American Ultra? But I don't think it matters what I think. What matters is what you think. So please let me know. What do you think of the Cory Wong signature Strat? Is it super unique? Would you have a use for some of these functions? Please let me know in the comments. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I realized this week actually that I've had this guitar all summer and I've been using it all summer, but I hadn't actually talked about it. So I was like, why not make a video about it? But if you want to know anything more about the Cory Wong signature Strat, got it from the homies at Fender. The links will be in the description. Make sure to check it out. One of the best ways to support the channel, if that's something you want to do, or if you're just curious about any of the other gear that I use in this video, the amps, the mics, the pedals, heck, even the camera, make sure to check out those links. Also, thank you so much to all my patrons. There's some extra exclusive content on there if you want to join the community. Like and subscribe if you had a good time, and most importantly, like most important of all, have a fantastic night.